Well, tonight, Kenyans will breathe a sigh of relief after President Uhuru Kenyatta announced measures to cushion Kenyans from the high cost of living. This as the president bashed those whom he says are in government but are not offering practical solutions to Kenyans. It is the 20th day of July 2022, just 19 days to the August general election. We have that plus more right ahead of this broadcast.
Tonight, government lowers price of 2 kg maize flour to retail at 100 shillings from over 200 shillings.
Maize flour shall retail across the entire territory of the Republic of Kenya at the price of Kenya shillings 100, down from Kenya shillings 205 for a 2 kg packet until otherwise directed.
President Kenyatta has warned millers not to hoard maize flour. Also tonight, Interior Ministry to heighten security in parts of the coast region following reports of mobilization of gangs ahead of August polls.
I have asked Mr. Karua, the Regional Police Commander, to act decisively and expeditiously on any one of those individuals who may make any effort or who may be tempted to try and put groups together.
IEBC appeals a High Court order that compelled it to review Reuben Kigame's documents amidst a tight timeline. And Raila Karua campaign in Turkana and Kirinyaga respectively as their competitors DP Ruto and Gachagua hunt for votes in Makueni and Murang'a.
Good evening, my name is Eric Munene. Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Minim Besa. News Tonight begins now. The price of a 2 kg packet of maize flour has dropped from 210 shillings to 100 shillings in the country. This was announced by President Uhuru Kenyatta after he had a closed-door meeting with millers. And as Sharon Baranga now reports, President Kenyatta also reprimanded politicians who were politicizing the increase of the price of unga for political mileage. Have a look.
For months now, the high cost of living in the country has been a nightmare to many. Kenyans from all walks of life have been complaining. Some resorted to going to the streets seeking an audience with the government. And when the price of maize flour hit an all-time high of over 200 shillings, it became an uphill task for some people to afford the staple meal. And now the prayers of Kenyans have been answered. The price of a 2 kg of maize flour has dropped from 210 shillings to 100 shillings.
Maize flour shall retail across the entire territory of the Republic of Kenya at the price of Kenya shillings 100, down from Kenya shillings 205 for a 2 kg packet until otherwise directed.
The new price was announced after President Kenyatta held a closed-door meeting with milling companies registered by Agricultural and Food Authority. Some of the measures put in place that have impacted the drop in the price of maize flour are suspension of the railway development levy on all imported maize and suspension of the import declaration fee on all imported maize. However, there are concerns over why the price of maize flour always increases with each election year.
You can make profits and exercise responsible business practices. And you can do this all at the same time. More so, because if unethical practices result in instability during and after elections, the biggest loser is not the ordinary citizen. It is the corporate citizen. It is their investments that are the first to suffer.
President Kenyatta also reprimanded politicians who are politicizing the increase of the prices of unga in a bid to gain political mileage.
But fellow Kenyans, it is not just our corporate citizens. It is also us in the political class. And how we manipulate this so-called unga crisis every election in an attempt to gain political mileage. We in the political class, it is so unfortunate but shocking that we have the audacity to politicize the misery of the most vulnerable in our society. But let me say it is even more distasteful for us to seek political gain and make political capital out of the suffering of the vulnerable without even attempting to offer solutions.
The drop in price of maize flour is a reprieve to Kenyans. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Meanwhile, Kenyans across the country have expressed their relief after the government introduced subsidies to reduce the price of maize flour from over 200 shillings to 100 shillings with immediate effect. Another section of Kenyans has additionally lauded the move but has urged the government to reduce the prices of other commodities in order to improve the living standards of Kenyans. Here are some of those we spoke to.
Binafsi najisikia vizuri kwa sababu familia yangu ni kubwa na nilikuwa kidogo napata shida kupata chakula cha mchana na jioni. So ili watoto wangu wapate afya ya kusoma, wapate nguvu. Nashukuru serikali kwa kuangalia hilo na kushukisha hiyo bei ya chakula.
Kulingana na vile maisha yametusukuma, tumeshukuru sana kwa sababu serikali ilifanya wakaturudishia bei ya unga chini, na maoni mengine tunaona serikali ingeamua sasa tusukisia hata mafuta. Baada ya kutusukisia unga peke yake, na hii kitu yenye natengeneza hiyo unga bado bei iko juu. Lakini tunaomba serikali mahali imefika itupunguzie hata bei ya mafuta.
Shukisha unga amefanya jambo la muhimu sana, sababu kuna wale ambao walikuwa wanaafektiwa na maneno ya unga. Hiyo ni jambo la muhimu. Sasa jambo ambalo limebaki ni maneno ya mafuta. Akishukisha mafuta, automatically hizi vitu zingine zitarudi chini na itakuwa imesaidia wananchi.
Wao umekuja tu kwa sababu ya unga, kwa sababu wananchi wamelalamika, lakini sisi tunaona bado hujasaidia Wakenya. Sisi tunaomba uweze kushukisha bei ya mafuta, ushukisha mafuta ya kupika, ushukishe 60 bob.
Mambo na economy ya Kenya na mambo na unga kuanguka, hii ni politics. Unga yesi anguka 130 na ilikuwa 230. So hii ni chombo wanasiasa wametumia katika kuangamiza wananchi ndio waende kupiga kura tarehe 9.
Hii hatua yake ya
Well, I do apologize for a technical hitch in that story. Now to politics. Tonight, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has appealed a High Court order directing the Commission to consider presidential aspirant Reuben Kigame's nomination papers for review and approval. IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati, in a statement, cited 3 key legal issues on why Kigame should not be cleared, among them strict timelines that could see the general election postponed if Kigame's name is on the ballot. The matter will be heard tomorrow, as our senior political affairs reporter Apollo Kumau now tells us.
The logistical and costly nightmare of including presidential aspirant Reuben Kigame on the ballot was laid bare by IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati in an appeal objecting to Monday's High Court verdict that ordered IEBC to consider Kigame's bid. Chebukati raised 3 pertinent questions before the appellate court, warning that including Kigame's name on the ballot is likely to jeopardize plans to hold the election on August 9, given the strict timelines and 19 days to the polls.
These are court orders. Court orders have to be obeyed, but then there are consequences to that. That if then we are thrown out of timelines, we may have to make some very, very hard decisions as a commission.
According to Chebukati, the inclusion of Kigame will force the commission to recall, reprogram, and reconfigure all the Kenya Integrated Election Management System KEMS kits across the 47 counties and the diaspora. IEBC further says it has no budget to print extra ballot papers at a cost of 971 million shillings. The commission has further supported its claims on why Kigame should not be on the ballot, saying it will be forced to reprogram the results transmission system to include Kigame and his running mate.
Itakuwa ni makosa makubwa ikiwa IEBC haitaniweka kwenye ballot, kwa sababu inaweza kusababisha tena kurudiwa kwa uchaguzi, na hatutaki kurudiwa kwa uchaguzi.
Also putting IEBC in a tight spot is a fresh printing of ballot papers, which will have to be redesigned to include Kigame and his running mate. The reprinting, repackaging, rebooking, and rescheduling flights to deliver pallets to the central warehouse for the printer will not be possible in time for the next election, given the entire process will take a whole month. Chebukati, in his 3-point objection, further queries how the High Court arrived at its decision, given Kagame presented 1,013 voters to IEBC instead of 2,000 signatures from the majority of the counties. IEBC has already dispatched 3 of its commissioners to Athens, Greece, to oversee the printing of the ballot papers. Vice Chair Juliana Cherera, Commissioners Francis Wanderi and Bolumoya. Azimio and Kenya Kwanza have also fronted their agents for the important exercise. Apol Kamau, TV47.
Our Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has directed heightened security in parts of the coast region following intelligence reports of gangs ahead of the August polls. Matiang'i, however, says the government is set to secure the election, as Petronilla Gorin now reports.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has ordered for beefing up of security in parts of the coast region ahead of the August poll.
Effective next week, locate additional security resources here to back up my colleagues who have done a phenomenally excellent job in keeping this region safe. The only dimension that we have looked at together jointly is aspects in some 2 counties in this region where possibly players in the electoral process may be tempted, and we are noticing some evidence of that temptation to try and mass up small groups that could engage in crime.
Matiang'i says the Interior Ministry has received intelligence that criminal gangs are regrouping in the region. The CS has called on security officers to stay alert and increase surveillance ahead of the general election.
I've asked Mr. Karoli, the regional police commander, to act decisively and expeditiously on any one of those individuals who may make any effort or who may be tempted to try and put groups together, regardless of their status.
The CS was speaking during the official opening of the 86 million First Coastal Anti-Terrorism Police Unit in Mombasa. The facility, which has been funded by the UK government, is said to aid the country's capability in quashing terror threats.
Following this facility, we now need to start preparing to build a court facility here, similar to the one we have at Shimola Tower and the one we have at Kamiti Maximum Prison, so that while we hold terrorists in these facilities, we are also able to process them through the justice chain.
In 2019, 181,000 British nationals found their way to Kenya, many of them enjoying the wonderful, wonderful things that this country has to offer. We want to keep them safe, and the only way we can do that is by working with the government of Kenya, supporting the government in our shared interest to keep Kenyans safe, but to keep its visitors to Kenya safe and to keep the tourism flowing.
Petronilla Goren for TV47 in Mombasa County.
Well, thank you, Petronilla Goren, for that. Now, with 19 days left to the August polls, sexual and gender-based violence survivors and human rights activists have amplified their voices to shun the vice which has been on the rise during the previous election hearing periods. And as Elizabeth Atieno now reports, calls have been made to declare SGBV a national disaster.
Sexual violence remains the most cruel, steadily growing crime in Kenya. Currently, 50% of women in the country experience gender-based violence in their lifetime, which is among the highest rates in the world. The country reported most cases of gender-based violence in 2007 and early 2008, which were marked by post-election violence, where rape accounted for 46% of the forms of gender-based violence. This situation appears to be getting worse by the day after the Nairobi Metropolitan Services recently disclosed that it had recorded 5,589 rape survivors in the past 12 months.
We urge the Kenyan government to declare sexual violence as a national disaster. One rape is one rape too many. Further, we call upon the government to take all measures necessary to ensure that all citizens, rich, poor, male and female, in all regions across the country are protected from sexual violence especially during this electioneering period.
Victims and their families not only suffer from physical harm, but the enduring and devastating effects of emotional and psychological trauma that has destabilized their lives forever.
The rising GBV cases have now left human rights activists and SGBV survivors crossing their fingers with only 19 days left to the August polls, hoping that the situation will be better this time.
We are here today to put a face to sexual violence, to amplify the voices and the voices of survivors and their families, because most of the time they are always left out in the conversation.
45-year-old Lydia Musungu, a mother of 3, clearly recalls her painful ordeal almost 15 years ago.
Wakati vita nilikuwa sehemu ya Likuyani. Wakati vita ilianza on 28th of December 2007. Kufika tarehe 3 tukaona vita ikazidi, tukatoka kwa maboma na sehemu tunafanyia biashara, tukatorokea ndani ya polisi kwa sababu polisi walikuwa deployed almost everywhere. Tukaingia pale kwa hifadhi. Tunafanya shughuli mchana, jioni tunaenda kulala kwa polisi. Na hapo ndipo nilinajisiwa.
59-year-old Rosanna Kashor is equally a survivor of sexual gender-based violence. Kashor suffered in the hands of her husband, whom she thought would be her protector.
Kwa kupigwa, nilipitia mambo mengi sana, hata ile sisemi, nilifika mahali hata nilipigwa mgongo, na yani mambo mengi ile hata siwezi nikasema. Na kwa uwezo wa Mwenyezi Mungu vile nilitoka nje, nikasema na nikaeleza.
Kashor and Musungu are among the 384 survivors of gender-based violence identified during the 2007 general elections.
Survivors are shamed, judged, and shunned. Worse still, survivors of sexual violence have scars that are not visible. We remember women, men, and children who have died from sexual violence.
The survivors have now come together to shun the vice and encourage more victims to speak up so that the perpetrators are brought to book. Elizabeth Achino, TV47.
Well, at 15 minutes past the hour, time now for our fast breather. Don't go away, we have plenty much in store for you.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza ratiba yako. Kaluma Pain Balm ni dawa ya kusugua iliyotengenezwa kutoka kwa miche maalum ili kutuliza maumivu ya misuli. Kaluma Pain Balm. Shhh. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
The new mobile money service imefika. Vuma ni wallet yako ya kurahisisha. Download Vuma.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you?
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party flag bearer Raila Odinga has promised to solve the insecurity menace that has bedeviled the volatile Turkana County for ages. Odinga says he will initiate a disarmament program that will ensure no firearm remains in the hands of citizens. Odinga, while campaigning in the expansive Turkana County, has also promised to solve the perennial water problem as well as implement a livestock insurance program for all livestock keepers.
Days before Kenyans head to the polls, Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga was in Turkana County, where he weaved through the areas of Kakuma, Lodwar and Morulem in a vote-hunting mission. Odinga, who is confident of winning the presidential poll in a landslide, has challenged his arch-rival William Ruto of the United Democratic Alliance to a fierce political duel.
Sasa tunapeana notisi kwa wale tunakwenda kushindana nao. Juzi niliona yule jamaa akijigamba ati yeye anaweza kushinda baba. Ati yeye ako na watu nini baba anaogopa. Nataka ajue kwamba baba hawezi kuogopa. Niambia yeye kwamba alete watu yake na mimi vile nilete wangu. Tukulana kwa kiwanja. Tuonane na hao ana kwa ana.
Tumechoka na hii kilio ya Ruto, miaka nenda, miaka rudi, saa yote kulia juu ya Uhuru Kenyatta. Tumechoka naye. Yule mtu atakushinda ni Raila. Pambana na Raila.
Azimio! Azimio!
Addressing thousands of supporters in various campaign rallies, Odinga assured Turkana residents of their security, promising to restore the more-needed peace in the disturbed county due to cattle rustling occasioned by the supremacy battles of water and pasture among neighboring communities.
Tukishika tu namna hii naona kama kazi inaanza. Tutaleta maji karibu na pale wananchi wanaishi, ili wananchi waweze kukula maji mangavu. Maji ambayo imekuwa treated sawa sawa.
Tunapakana hapa na majirani wetu ambao wametoka Baringo na Pokot. Kwa hivyo kuna mambo ya mahava hapa. Aidha serikali ichukue mabunduki zote kwa kila mtu ama apatie kila mtu bunduki.
Watu wa hapa Turkana East, jambo kubwa ambalo ni jenga ni kwamba kuna insecurity, watu wetu wanakufa kila wakati. Hata jana watu waliuliwa. Juzi watu waliuliwa. Sisi tunataka ukichukua serikali, tafadhali jaribu leta amani katika mipaka yetu na majirani marafiki zetu kutoka Kenya.
Leaders accompanying Odinga popularized his presidential bid as the only savior to the problems bedeviling Kenyans. The Azimio la Umoja team continue to sell their agenda to the people, promising the social protection fund to vulnerable households, affordable healthcare through Baba Care, as well as a stringent fight against corruption in the event Raila successfully bids for the presidency.
Na maoni na utafiti imefanyika. Na baba ndio yuko mbe? Tafadhalini mkae hapo hapo. Atakayekuwa rais tarehe 9 na muzoee lugha yake na muzoee uso yake si mwingine ni Raila Amolo Odinga.
Alipata shida kwa ajili ya demokrasia. Na ni wakati wa Kenya wenye goodwill. Kenya wale wanafikiria vizuri wakati huu kumpigia kura aende State House. Na hata wakumbuka William Samoei Ruto hata wakumbuka.
Raila continues with his campaigns in Turkana, Thursday, Mwangi Maina, TV47.
Our Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate William Ruto took his charm offensive to Makueni, Taita Taveta and Kwale counties Wednesday in a vote hunt mission 19 days to general election. The second in command has issued a stern warning to chiefs whom he said are allegedly being used to campaign for his opponent, Azimio's Raila Odinga. Mike Kagongo with the details.
In what appears to be the final touches of a long journey of campaigns across the country, the DP is making his last shots of campaigns, traversing triple counties in a day, in a bid to sink his message of bottom up to the undecided block of voters. Ruto's Wednesday itinerary started at Sultan Hamoud in Kilome constituency before heading to Makindu town in Kibwezi West constituency. In the afternoon, he headed to Chumani market in Masonga Leni, Kibwezi East, before proceeding to Voi town. The second-in-command issued a stern warning to chiefs whom he said are allegedly being used to campaign for his opponent, Azimio's Raila Odinga.
Our members of the provincial administration, I want to tell them from Makueni, nobody should blackmail you, nobody should intimidate you, nobody should force you to run errands for any political party. You are servants of the people of Kenya. You are protected by the Constitution. You are protected by the law to serve all Kenyans equally. Azimio must look for their own errand boys and errand girls to run their own agenda. They cannot misuse public servants to be errand boys and errand girls for their failed project called Kitendawili. Tunaelewana jameni?
Machifu wameongea na sisi. County Commissioner wameongea na sisi. Wanasema wanalazimishwa ati kuunga mkono Azimio kwa sababu Azimio ni project ya Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta na serikali. Tunasema sheitani ashindwe. Waache kutumia watu wa serikali.
Ruto said chiefs should think about how they may work for the benefit of all people, regardless of which party camp they are affiliated to. Ruto's team criticizing their opponents for what they termed as mismanagement of the top leadership that has occasioned to high cost of living.
Baada ya hiyo handshake, mambo imegeuka kwa sababu sisi ambao tulikuwa waanzilishi wa Jubilee tukiongozwa na William Ruto tulitemwa nje. Ule mzee wa kitendawili akanyemelea serikali, akaingia ndani, akakuwa advisor wa rais. Na kwa sababu ya advice ya mtu ya kitendawili, bei ya unga imepanda, bei ya sukari imepanda, bei ya chumvi imepanda.
Ile siku mtu anaitwa Raila aliitwa State House, aende akapatiwe serikali ya nusu mkate na Uhuru Kenyatta. Kalonzo Musyoka alikuwa wapi? Alikuwa missing. Sasa mimi nataka kuambia nini jamii ya Makueni? Huyu mzee anaitwa kitendawili amezoea kuwatumia vibaya.
Meanwhile, UDA Deputy President Designate Igathe Gachagua pitched camp in Murang'a County for the better part of the day Wednesday, where he said high turnout of the polling centers will ensure Ruto succeeds President Uhuru Kenyatta, defeating Raila Odinga, who he termed as the government project guided by his selfish interests.
Tukiingia appoint the Inspector General of Police to be the accounting officer of the National Police Service to control all monies belonging to the police service so that hiyo pesa isikuliwe na akina Matiang'i na watu wengine kama hawa. Tunakubaliana?
Sisi tulimchagua 2013. Tukamchagua 2017 mara ya kwanza. Na mara ya pili haki ya Mungu huyu kijana ako na bahati.
Speaker Justin Muturi said he was supporting Ruto after realizing the Azimio crew had nothing to offer, asking residents not to be hoodwinked by Azimio team who are using Mother Karua to try and deceive them.
Kile tumekataa ni yeye kujaribu kushurutisha sisi. Alafu ameharibu Jubilee. Afisa anasema yeye imekuwa Jubilee. Jubilee imekuwa ati Azimio.
They campaigned for Ruto and all UDA aspirants in Mathioya, Kankema, Kiharu, Kerumo, Kantara, Maragua and Gatanga constituencies. Mike Kagwongo, TV47.
Now moving on, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi and Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula on Wednesday toured parts of Nairobi, including Dagoretti North and Dagoretti South. The duo were drumming up support for Kenya Kwanza's presidential candidate and other Kenya Kwanza candidates in the regions. During the rally, Mudavadi told off Azimio's running mate Martha Karua for what he termed failing to defend and elaborate the Azimio manifesto to Kenyans during the televised deputy presidential debate held Tuesday. Bungoma Senator, on the other hand, asked Kenyans to reject Azimio and vote for Kenya Kwanza candidates. Take a look.
Mnyema tukua hapa na Mariga hapa tukiomba na Mariga.
Sasa bila kupoteza wakati, hata nyinyi wenyewe mkiona debate ya kwanza, Sakaja saliangusha project ile inaitwa Igathe. Saliangusha Igathe vizuri kabisa. Na jana Igathe sasa Gachagua na yeye aliangusha project ya pili. Aliangusha nani? Aliangusha Karua. Sasa project ya kwanza Igathe iko chini.
Na ndugu zetu wadago, msije mkadanganywa na deep state. Juzi nimeona wakisema, na lazima muangalie kabisa, ati wanataka kuteremsha bei ya unga for 4 weeks. For 4 weeks. Alafu kwa kimaliza warudi pale pale. We can see right through them.
Our time now for our second breather. Don't go away. We'll be back with more.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Trisent School of Medical Health Science and Technology is a premier training institute for market-driven courses. With state-of-the-art facilities, competent and dedicated members of staff, and linkages with the medical industry, you are assured of a bright future when you study with us. Enroll today in our campuses at Juja, Nairobi West, Kisumu, and Homa Bay.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming, tasting Wednesday.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Azimio Umoja One Kenya running mate Martha Karua has told off their opponent William Ruto for what she termed as being disrespectful to his boss, leading to poor relations. Karua says his boss under the Azimio Umoja One Kenya alliance, Raila Odinga, is focused on bringing change to the country and ensure peaceful cohesion and coexistence if they clinch the next government. Karua spoke during her campaign meeting in Kirinyaga while meeting women drawn from the region. She rallied women to support the Azimio Umoja government, urging them to be the ambassadors of Azimio government by spreading the message of goodwill.
Kirinyaga turi aciari wina ciana wina tucucu ni urandire twakwa bwae we uraroretie TV na nimewashauri kuchagua wale wameonyesha ni viongozi na wanaweza endeleza kazi kulingana na sheria zetu. Watu wenye uadilifu, watu ambao wanaweza aminika, watu wako na heshima, na ukiwa na heshima na watu utaheshimu mali yao. Watu ambao wako na utu, watu ambao wako na zile tabia sisi wa mama tunawaambia watoto wetu waige. Kwa hivyo nimewaomba wawe ambassadors wa kuuliza kura kila mahali. Nchi haiwezi endelea bila
heshima, bila kuaminika, bila utu. Na nchi hii wamama ndio kila kitu. Kwa hivyo mimi mwenyewe namshukuru kinara wangu Raila Amolo Odinga kwa kunipatia hii nafasi ya running mate. Ananijua, ananielewa na anajua iko mahali nitasema mbaya ni mbaya. Lakini hana uoga, sababu nia yake ni kufanyia Wakenya nini? Ukiona mtu akichukua Martha kama running mate, ujue nia yake ni nzuri. Lakini ni mtu tushafanya kazi na yeye na tunaweza fanya kazi na yeye. Hata kampeni si mnaona tunafanya tu poa. Si kama wengine wako na uoga wa kuwa pamoja.
Now, Azimio la Umoja, one Kenya candidate under the Jubilee ticket, Igathe, has today wooed members of the Muslim community in his vote hunt mission at Pumwani. Igathe, who was accompanied by his running mate Professor Philip Kaloki and Azimio senatorial candidate Edwin Sifuna, promised the Muslim population will get a share in the next government provided they clinch power.
Nusu ya serikali yetu itakuwa na watu wa dini yenu na tayari mko kwa kampeni zetu. Na tutatembea pamoja kabisa. Kwa hivyo sera yetu kubwa ni kustawisha jamii kwa kuhakikisha elimu na afya tumetengeneza, na hasa shida ya njaa ambayo imekithiri hapa Nairobi tumepigana nao. Wa pili, sera ni kuhakikisha kwamba tumeboresha uchumi.
Mheshimiwa Kaloki na Igathe, mimi kazi yangu ni kuwatafutia fedha, muweke maji katika misikiti ambapo mmeombwa hapa. Muhakikishe kwamba kina mama hao wanainuliwa kibiashara na kimaisha. Tuwajengee nyumba za heshima za wao kuishi. Tujenge barabara hapa Nairobi. Tuchukue takataka, watu waishi katika mazingira ambayo ni ya kiheshima. Kwa hivyo mimi nimesema, tofauti na seneta ambaye yuko sasa, Mheshimiwa Igathe, iwapo kazi itakushinda, mimi Sifuna si mwoga bana. Mimi mwenyewe ndio nitaleta mswada wa kukuondoa iwapo kazi itakushinda.
Yenu ya kusumbuliwa wakati mnapata ile vitambulisho, mkipata passport, hiyo tutahakikisha inafanywa na njia ya heshima, kwa sababu nyinyi ni Wakenya, si hivyo?
Sisi tunaweza kukupatia hizo kura, lakini nataka tujue sisi tuko wapi na wewe. Nataka uangalie wakati ambao unatengeneza serikali yako. Sababu we are 2.2 million registered voters in Nairobi. Out of that, if I can deliver 700, that is a third. A third of your government should be Muslims.
Igathe na Kaloki kuwa Waislamu tumeachwa sana. Na sisi kukuja hapa ni kwa ajili tunajua in your government tutahusishwa. Na tuko na maishu mingi zenye tunataka tukue consider.
Moving on, it was a collision of responses, ideas and proposals between Kenya Kwanza's Gachagua and Martha Karua of Azimio la Umoja during the deputy presidential debate. Integrity, corruption and cost of living took center stage in the 90 minutes discussion, as our very own Moige William reports.
In the second tier of the deputy presidential debate, Rigathi Gachagua of UDA and Martha Karua of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya took on each other on a number of issues in a 90 minutes debate at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa Tuesday. Two who stated they understand the role of a deputy president did not hesitate to put out to the public their take on the fallout between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto.
William Ruto is not an appointee of President Uhuru Kenyatta. He is elected by the people of Kenya.
Entertaining disagreement outside government and publicly is disruptive. No wonder the government in which Mr. Gachagua's principal serves is unable to fight corruption because it's pulling in two different directions.
Though differing on the fallout of President Kenyatta and his deputy, the two were in agreement that the constitution should not be amended to make the deputy president position an appointive one.
It is not that we need to amend to prescribe the relationship between the president and a deputy president.
It is that we need to change our behavior, differ with respect.
Igathe and Karua did not hold back at anything when the issue of corruption came up. The two blaming the current tough state of economic affairs on corruption in the current Uhuru Kenyatta-led administration, but differ on how to tackle the matter.
No mother has baptized their children the name corruption. It's a behavior an individual deliberately chooses.
I'm saying there will be a commission because the real corruption that we need to deal with, not what Honorable Mother is talking about, is state capture and conflict of interest.
They were tasked to declare their wealth, with the heat turning up on Igathe, where he was forced to explain how he acquired his wealth. Karua's land ownership also came up after Gachagua linked her with the controversial Gariama land.
I applied for tenders and competed, open tenders and won, and did construction business and did supplies, and nobody is complaining. The people of Kenya have been complaining that she used her office as justice minister to take land in South Gariama and give it to her relatives. But that is just an allegation.
The current administration that is there, and I'm not in power in Kirinyaga, that if there is truth to that allegation, then they must swiftly take me to court and recover.
Karua was also hard pressed to explain the BAT scandal that she was accused of receiving money from the international firm.
The matter has been investigated in UK and the file has been closed.
Another bone of contention was President Uhuru Kenyatta in Azimio Umoja, with Igathe stating their rivals were state projects.
But he's trying to circumvent the constitution to plant a proxy government to continue governing from outside State House.
My colleagues and his captains' beef with the president should not make them use this forum or use us as candidates to fight the president. We represent the aspirations of Kenyans.
Down with the deputy presidential debate. Up next on the 26th of July is the presidential debate, where a face-off is expected between William Ruto of UDA, Azimio Umoja Raila Odinga, while David Moore of Agano Party will take on Roots Party George Wajackoyah. Moige William, TV47, Nairobi.
Roots Party presidential running mate Justina Wamae was called on the carpet to enlighten Kenyans on the legalization of bang pledged by her opponent Ruth Mutua of the Agano Party in yesterday's deputy presidential debate. The debate, which was held at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa in Nairobi, saw the two ladies lock horns on issues touching on corruption, health and leadership. Have a look.
Now, the first year of the deputy presidential debate for candidates with less than 5% popularity rating in 3 recent polls, so Roots Party running mate Justina Wamae lock horns with Ruth Mutua from Agano Party.
It is an illegal substance. So how do you...
After both introduced their profiles to Kenyans, the elephant in the room popped up. The Roots Party's pledge to legalize bang was put to task and surgically torn apart, but Wamae had all the answers sought.
Our role is to open the vision, Kenyan's vision into the future. Marijuana is versatile.
Ni maswala ya maadili na si Agano Party ni wa Kenya. Kama it is already legal, it is currently illegal. So how safe is it? How safe is it when we start taking it up? That means we are destroying a whole generation. We're destroying our children. I am concerned as a Kenyan.
Wamae further defending her party's manifesto on the pledge to snake farming, which she says will boost the venom industry.
There is the Wildlife Conservation Act 2013 that stipulates the process and the procedures and the systems. KWS itakuja kwako. You show interest, yeah? Expression of interest. Before they give you a license, wanakuja kwako na wana inspect. So hiyo sitaongelea sana because already the law was passed by parliament. But this is the idea. Unaenda express interest, unaambiwa before upewe a license, they have to inspect your premises.
Agano's presidential running mate at the same time stated that corruption was her party's main focus, while blaming the current crop of leadership.
Na tukipambana na corruption, tutakuwa na operational capital. Remember, we'll be able to create jobs for the youth. Kuna wale wamefanya degree, 2,000 of them probably after every year wana graduate. Hawana makazi. Wakienda kutafuta kazi, they're being asked for 3 years experience. It is not bought over a shelf.
Roots pledged to hang those found guilty, also raising temperatures during the 90 minutes debate.
So even those in the judicial system who are rotten, they are going to be subjected to what Roots Party is saying, hanging, because you're the ones who are impeding how the aspirations of Kenyans when they're looking out for leaders who relate to their challenges.
Though Wamae tried her luck in politics in 2017, Mutua is a newcomer in the Kenyan politics, banking on that. Stanley Nyeringita, TV47, Nairobi.
A week after the killing of young men linked to the notorious Confirm gang in Nakuru, the Independent Medical Legal Unit, IMLU, has now condemned the act allegedly by the National Police Service officers at Kiamaiko, Nakuru County. Well, the incident was confirmed by Nakuru new police commander Peter Mwanzo. And as Josh Onsari reports, IMLU has called upon the police service to suspend the officers involved and commence investigations immediately.
The Independent Medical Legal Unit, IMLU, has condemned the alleged killing of 4 men by National Police Service officers on the night of July 14th, 2022 at Kiamaiko, Nakuru County. According to the new Nakuru Police Commander Peter Mwanzo, the 4 Collins Kibet, 16 years, Collins Kipkorir, 21 years, Kevin Kipyegon, 20 years, and Dennis Kipchirchir, 23 years, were gunned down by police officers who were on a night patrol. Mwanzo alleging that the young men were part of a notorious gang known as Confirm. In a press release by IMLU, says the execution of the 4 was premeditated, planned and executed. The finding by IMLU indicate that family members and the neighbors witnessed as the police officers picked the 4 from their houses in Kwamaiko village, Barut, Nakuru West sub-county. IMLU says they were thereafter taken to Dennis Kipchirchir's house in Kwamaiko village, where they were executed in cold blood. Witnesses' reports indicate that there was no violent confrontation with the officers, as earlier reported by the police commander Peter Mwanzo. The findings by IMLU further indicate that after execution, police officers from the Ronda police station took the 4 bodies to the Nakuru County Referral Hospital, Level 5 Hospital PGH, for preservation. Further witnesses' report shows that the police officers who executed the 4 had picked other suspects who were released after being roughed up. IMLU has condemned the action, calling upon immediate suspension and investigation of the Nakuru County Commander's responsibility in these executions. IPOA and the Internal Affairs Unit undertake thorough investigation into the killings. The public to come out and share any information regarding this matter to IPOA and the IAU. The government to reinforce the core duty of a police officer as stated in the National Police Service Act of 2011, which is to protect life and property and respect human rights. The Independent Medical Legal Unit, IMLU, has promised to continue to monitor the situation as clock ticks to the August 9th general election. Josh Onsare, TV47.
Moving on now to the corridors of justice, the prosecution has closed its case in the murder case facing journalists Jackie Maribe and Joseph Irungu alias Joey. This is after the evidence of the Chief Investigating Officer, Chief Inspector Maxwell Otieno, and subsequent close examination by defense lawyers Professor Hassan Nandwa and Katwa Kigen, who appeared for the accused, was presented. Beatrice Watare tells us more.
Are you going to call them? It was not relevant.
During the hearing, the prosecution called a total of 35 witnesses. The 2 were charged with the offense of murder for allegedly killing business lady Monica Kimani on 11th September 2019. On Tuesday, the last witness in the case, Chief Inspector of Police Maxwell Otieno, took to the witness stand. Otieno told the court that Joey was armed with a pistol when he visited Monica's house and used a firearm him to make her submit.
On observing the body of the deceased, I didn't find any defensive marks. This firearm was used by accused number 1 to make the deceased submit.
No, I'm not doing the first accused case.
I just want to put the correlation between the firearm, because firearm is there, firearm is in the house.
So you basically are saying that the first accused went, threatened, tied her up and killed her.
Just give me time so that you get it better, because you are already there. I'm saying he was armed with a firearm confirmed by a person known as James Lando, whom he left his car with. He goes into the house, commits that murder. Then the same firearm that was used to make the accused, the deceased person submit, because there were no defensive injuries. Ordinarily, you will find somebody who's being killed trying to defend himself. Even a hen, when you want to slaughter a hen, it will kick. So the deceased must have been subjected to severe fear. What can cause a severe fear? The firearm. Why did he even arm himself with a firearm when going to a friend's house? He was intending to use, at least person was intending to use the firearm. So this firearm is used for submission, so that now the deceased submits to whatever happened.
Otieno, testifying before Justice Grace Nzioka, however, said the DNA samples picked from the deceased house in Kilimani did not link Joey to the scene of the crime. The samples included glasses, food, wine, and gloves found in the house. During close examination by defense counsel Karua Kigen representing Maribe, the investigating officer told the court that he did not find any contact, email, Facebook, or any other negotiation on social media on account of Maribe with the deceased.
Told you either Jennings or Pamela or anybody else told you that the second accused Maribe had a gun on the 19th of September?
Not on her body, but in her house.
Not her personally?
Not on her body, but in her house.
The second accused needed to have been there if he was to have participated in the killing, isn't it?
He could have participated by the fact of being a principal offender, not physically being there.
So your case is that he could have participated in the murder even if he was not there physically?
Exactly.
Monica's body was found at her Lamuria Gardens apartment on Kitale Lane off Dennis Pitt Road in Kilimani, Nairobi on 20th September 2018. Beatrice Watare, TV47.
Out to politics, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has cleared 7 candidates in the Kakamega Gubernatorial race. Clan politics will dominate the race to succeed Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, who has served his 2 constitutional terms. Violet Auma takes a look at the race 19 days to the polls.
Kakamega County is the 4th most populous county in Kenya, with a population of 1.9 million people, covering about 3,020 square kilometers in western Kenya. The county is referred to as the Green Jewel because of its green sceneries, among them Kakamega Forest, which is the largest tropical rainforest in East Africa. County 037 has a total of 844,551 registered voters in 2022. The county's top job has attracted 7 candidates who want to replace former Butere lawmaker Wycliffe Oparanya, who has served his 2 constitutional terms. The 7 are Fernandez Baraza of ODM, former presidential candidate Cyrus Jirongo of UDP, Kanuzu Suleiman Kanyanya, Senator Cleophas Malala running on ANC ticket, Samuel Omkoko of MDP, Austin Otieno and Michael Osundwa both running as independent candidates. The race, however, is tight between Baraza and Malala, who are enjoying the support from Azimio Umoja's Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto, respectively. Oparanya, who contested on ODM ticket, won with a landslide, garnering 390,164 votes, which was about 70.6%, followed by Ford Kenya's Boni Halwale, who got 135,543, representing 24.53% of the votes. The late Mebo Mruli of Jubilee Party came in third with 14,459 votes, and Advocate Michael Osundwa and Major Suleiman Sumba finished 4th and 5th respectively. In the previous elections, clanism and money, commonly known as umbereho, meaning I will vote for the one who has given me something, played a center stage in the polls. During electioneering period, Kakamega is always divided into factions, the upper and the lower Kakamega. The upper Kakamega, comprising of 7 out of 12 sub-counties dominated by sub-tribes of Waidaho, Waisuha, Wakabras, Watsoso, Wenyala and Tiriki, while the lower Kakamega, comprising of Wawanga, Wahisa and Wamarama, have played a role in the county's politics.
Sasa ikura ya governor simunisaidie tafadhali bana. Tafadhali bana. Tafadhali bana. Mutanipatia?
Kazi ya ugavana ni kazi ambayo inahitaji mtu mkakamavu, sio kijana wa porojo na propaganda. Shina bweni.
Kazi ya kukua askari wa county government, mimi sitaitisha masomo. Bora ukwe na miguu mbili na mikono mbili, mimi nakupatia hiyo kazi unaanza kufanya.
Those seeking the governor's seat have been keen to pick their running mates from the opposite sides. In 2017, Governor Oparanya, who hails from the lower Kakamega, picked his running mate Professor Philip Kutima from Kabras, the upper Kakamega. This pattern has been replicated by all gubernatorial candidates in this year's race. For instance, Baraza, who hails from Wanga community, is deputized by Lugari Member of Parliament Ayub Savula from the northern part and believes that his management skills will take Kakamega County to another level. He has promised to focus on key areas in his government, among them health and agriculture, majorly revival of Mumias Sugar Company. ANC's Cleophas Malala hails from the border of Mumias East and Navakholo, while his running mate Dr. Beatrice Inyangala comes from Malava, the upper side of Kakamega. The race has attracted both seasoned politicians like Cyrus Jirongo and the youthful 29-year-old Austin Opito, who believes they can fit in Governor Oparanya's big shoes.
Nataka mtu wa Kakamega, kijana, mama, mzee apate haki yake.
Jirongo exuded confidence of his win in the Kakamega Gubernatorial race come August polls.
Nikasema lazima nirudi kwa uongozi, niweke jamii ya Mlembe pamoja, turudishe heshima ya Mluya, sio sisi kutumiwa na watu wengine kama hawa mama wako za watu.
However, locals believe that the exit of Lugari Member of Parliament Ayub Savula to deputize Baraza narrowed down the gubernatorial race to a two-horse race between Baraza and Malala.
Hivi sasa we are ranked as among the top 5 performing counties kwa sababu ya foundation ambayo Oparanya ameleta hapa. Hatuwezi kubali Kakamega County irudi nyuma.
Mimi kama seneta, munajua ofisi ya seneta haijakuwa na shilingi hata moja. Lakini mimi nimejikaza, nimefanya maendeleo kupitia pesa binafsi, pesa za familia yangu na mshahara yangu. Mimi hapa Malava nilileta camp ya kutibu watu wa Malava. Tukatibu watu 12,000 bure. Ukweli ama uongo?
Malala, kumrare maendeleo kabarasi. Bas, nembola Cleo, mbole governor Cleo.
Malala and Baraza have in their rallies promised to go beyond the constitutional 2/3 gender rule and instead provide a 50-50 opportunity for both genders.
Leo natangaza hapa serikali yangu kama the second governor of Kakamega, 50% itakuwa wamama. Na kwa hiyo 50%.
Ngapi wanasema Cleo Malala for governor?
The Maendeleo Democratic Party candidate Samuel Omkoko's fate, however, hung in the balance after his running mate Dr. John Marani recently announced to step down and threw weight behind the Kenya Kwanza's Cleophas Malala. The two leading coalitions have made inroads in the county in an effort to woo voters in the region that has been considered as an ODM stronghold.
Sisi jamii ya Mlembe tunagawanyishwa kwa sababu ya kitu kimoja tu. Hatujui kupendana na hatujui kugawana.
Locals say the two, Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto's influence is real on the ground, and they believe Ruto will get a bigger chunk in the county's votes compared to 2017 elections. In 2017, ODM's Raila Odinga got 485,383 votes, translating to 87.3%, compared to Jubilee's Uhuru Kenyatta, who got 63,910, which was 11.5% of Kakamega's votes.
Tuwe ndani ya serikali, sio tu kwa sasa hivi, lakini kwa siku zijazo.
Violet Auma, TV47, Kakamega.
Well, thank you, Violet Auma, for that. Now, the Kenya National Union of Teachers now says that it has commenced a structured negotiation with its employer, the Teachers Service Commission, demanding a 60% salary rise among other demands. The union further stating that it is committed to enhancing a better working relationship with its employer. And Rin Kilemi reports.
We shall never be divided.
Kenya National Union of Teachers Wednesday unveiled topical issues and solutions addressed between the union and its employer, the Teachers Service Commission, in a 3-day retreat in Naivasha.
We arrived in Naivasha on the 6th. We had discussions with Teachers Service Commission on the 7th, on the 8th, and on the 9th of July to discuss matters affecting our teachers in this republic. Both teams were to get to know where rain started beating us and the best way possible to have our teachers served by the employer.
According to NAT boss Colin Soyu, the union is pushing for promotions and a 60% salary increment for teachers.
That the commission rolled out a policy on promotion of teachers. This policy, which to an extent was actually extracted from the 2017-2021 CBA. It removed promotions based on higher qualifications to appraisal mode. This policy has disadvantaged many of our teachers who have qualified in higher qualifications as they went to read, and it also disadvantaged most of our teachers who were and still in administrative positions of leadership.
Other demands made by the union include recognition of teachers with higher academic qualifications, appointment of teachers with the requisite qualifications, grading of teachers to be made clear just like in the past, review of administrative qualifications in the hard-to-staff areas, and online application for promotion for administrative positions.
No teacher whatsoever should lose financially out of being transferred or being promoted. It is ironic, ladies and gentlemen, that one is promoted and then he or she loses some of the benefits they really worked for and very hard.
Oyu further pushed for the delocalization policy in order to streamline transfer of teachers, adding that the policy has been repealed. The union further stating that it is committed to enhancing a better working relationship with the employer TSC. Andrin Kilemi, TV47.
Well, from matters education and back to politics, chaos rocked IEBC in Kisii as battles between anti-IEBC demonstrators and police officers were witnessed in the county of IEBC offices today, leading to the injury of one officer and the destruction of property worth millions of shillings. Lucky Heriano filed that report.
These glass windows at the resource center vandalized shows how the protesters engaged the police officers in a long day stone throwing. The demonstrators who have been pitching tent at the IEBC offices have been pushing for the removal of some IEBC officers from the county, whom they accuse of planning to rig the August general elections. Governor Ngwae, among other leaders, condemned the violent demonstrations.
I am told that some of the animals have been stolen and they cannot be traced. And apart from the violence that was meted, because I saw one police officer with a very, very deep cut on his head. I saw it on social media. And for me, as a governor, I can't understand why this should happen. And why this should be allowed in a civilized society. This is completely unbecoming. And I want to castigate it in the strongest possible terms.
Once we started discussing those issues, all of a sudden there is the protesters outside, and indeed it was confirmed that these protesters were not just here. They were in other stations around the county.
Ya kustabisha. Tulianza kuongea maneno ya insecurity iko hapa kwa county. Haswa vile bana zetu na posters zinakuwa mutilated na zinatolewa, supporters wetu wanachapwa, wanapigwa, na candidate mmoja anajulikana kutoka chama yangu Bwana Simba Arati, taharuki katokea.
We have been having problems since the campaigns started. We have never been given a fair ground for campaigns. When we have big rallies, we get that wounds are brought there. There's a lot of intimidations that we are not given a room to air our sentiments or to say our policies to the people.
Police officer will, however, calm the situation after the running battles. Reporting for TV47, I'm Lucky Hiriano.
Now, residents of South Mugirango area in Kisii County are crying out for justice over a mysterious murder of a 74-year-old lady whose body parts were found in a thicket 3 weeks after her disappearance. Paul Munio reports.
A family in South Mugirango, Kisii County is distressed over efforts to search for their loved one who was allegedly killed and her body dumped into a bush. According to the family, 74-year-old Yunuke Bitengo had left home to visit her friends but never returned until 3 weeks later when they stumbled upon some of her body parts in a thicket.
Kuangalia nikapata kifunguo na nywele. Nikaenda kuuliza jamaa ingine na jamaa ingine akanionyesha picha inapigwa kichwa ya mtu na mkono kama hii nusu niliona kwa hiyo picha. Kurudi kutoka hapo nikakuja nikaambia bibi zangu, nikaamka na bibi zangu mmoja tukaenda paka Etawa police station.
The area residents have, however, criticized the area security authorities, claiming that they delayed to respond after the information was relayed to them.
Serikali iwe ya CID kwa sababu hii kitu iliripotiwa. Tunaomba watuambie what is happening. Wamefikia wapi hadi wa leo?
Tukaweka ripoti, tukakuja na maskari paka hapo. Maskari bakabeba hiyo nywele na hiyo kifunguo na hiyo mafupa ilikuwa hapo. Sasa kutoka hapo mimi naendelea kutafuta mama sijampata.
They ask the government to intervene and help them recover the remains of their loved one and deliver justice to the family by conducting investigations that will see the murderers convicted.
Naambia serikali nisaidie, tutafutie huyu mama tupate mali aliuliwa, atuletee tusike.
Viweze kutusaidia na uchunguzi ili tujue kama kweli mama hayuko hai na amekufa. Tujue mwili yake iko wapi ndio tukuje tushike, na wale waliofanya hii mambo mbaya ambayo si haitaichiki kwa jamii waweze kuchukuliwa hatua so that justice can be given to this family.
Paul Munio, TV47.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades.
It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set